nothing is all one-sided. But cannabis is shifted very much towards the good side. Why? Because we all share a common biochemical imbalance. We are all getting older. We are all aging. We are all accumulating damages. And the cannabinoids help protect us against that. So they are essentially anti-aging drugs. So musculoskeletal system, as already mentioned, ALS, recently shown involvement in osteoporosis. Even the production of the runner's high is now attributed to cannabinoids. So if you go out and run like I do and you like it, part of the reason you like it is because you're getting off a little here on your endocannabinoids legally, and they can't do anything about it, Your nervous system, we had a nice discussion on that. I just want to point out, though, a lot is known about what Alzheimer's is. It's at the end point, these neurofibrillary tangles. What's also known is the molecular mechanism that shows why cannabinoids inhibit the production, the formation of Alzheimer's disease. Aside from the neuroprotective effects, the actual organic problem that arises can be blocked by cannabinoids. Reagan, if he said, just say no K-N-O-W instead of N-O-W, might have died knowing his name, or his wife, or anyone else. So head injury, if you have head injury, your brain makes cannabinoids to protect you. Same is true of stroke. And they also seem to be involved in nerve regeneration. People who are suffering, for example, from chemotherapy or from MS, where in both cases there can be neurodegeneration, neuropathy. There are people who can't believe how good they are and how they regain capacity once they go from not having been cannabis users to being cannabis users. It's just like miraculous to these people. Also learning, and this is very critical here, the whole idea of learning, because what cannabinoids are very involved with are forgetting. But you know what? In order to learn something new, you often have to forget something old, because you got to reprogram, If you learn that marijuana is bad, it's the dangerous killer drug. Well, if all the science that I talk about is real, and you read it, you've got to be able to throw away the old and learn the new, okay? And this is going to be very important to where I'm going, because I'm running out here. All right, I'll be very quick then, because I'm missing my key points here. And they're not there. And we'll eliminate the fact that cannabinoids kill all these different cancers, free radicals are the friction of life, cannabinoids extend life in mice, there's a mind-body connection. I'm suggesting, in fact, that the placebo effect might be due to cannabinoids. It'll be something very interesting at some point to find out the answer to. All right, just give me a little bit of time here. In a population of people, you're going to have people who have high levels of cannabinoids, people who have lower levels. Unavoidably true. It's like indisputable truth. You're going to have an average level, people are going to be above average, people are going to be below average, all right? Some people therefore are higher, some people therefore are lower, all right? The average state of the high in the population. Well, here we have a couple of, I would presume, potentially low cannabinoid people. They can't relearn, okay? And then you have people, who are inventive, who are peaceful, who are loving. These people probably had high levels of cannabinoids. And what we are dealing with today is a genetic battle. Cannabinoids regulate learning by help us to forget, all right? So that we can learn new things. Some people, they just cannot relearn. They are biochemically defective. So no matter how you can tell them cannabis is good, they cannot rewire. When I had my article come out last year on why marijuana smoke does not cause lung cancer, but tobacco smoke does, this guy starts writing to me about how irresponsible I was, and blah, 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 and sending back all this science. And now what I'd send him, it would come back with some ridiculous thing about ignoring the science. It turns out this guy who was the retired number 3 man in the DEA. And what I'm suggesting is this guy had real low cannabinoid levels. It doesn't pay to try and educate. They cannot learn. They are broken. They are the primitive people. Science is the search for truth. My religious beliefs are that truth matters, that physics drives evolution, that evolution has selected cannabinoids to prolong life and relieve suffering. As an evolutionist, science says that I must wisely use cannabis for physical, mental, and global health. This is my religion. I am being denied my religion, my fact-based religion, by laws made by people who have faith-based religions. I hope someday to go to court and challenge this, and we'll end with this.
Thank you, Bob. I know we're running over, and I appreciate people's patience. We have one final speaker, that's Sunil Aggarwal. He spoke yesterday, and I had the pleasure of meeting him a couple weeks ago in Santa Barbara. He's a fourth-year MD Ph.D. student at the University of Washington in Seattle. He's an active member of Washington Physicians for Social Responsibility, holds a BS in chemistry and a BA in philosophy from UC Berkeley. And currently he is studying medical geography. Sunil's areas of interest include the political ecology of health and disease, structural violence and human rights, and subjective health-related quality of life, all especially in the context of human cannabis relations. Today he is here to give us a crash course on marijuana use and mental health. I'm sure all of you have seen the headlines that come out of mostly the UK, this country a little bit too, and also Australia, New Zealand. I call it reefer madness redux, this idea that somehow smoking marijuana will greatly damage your mental health, and Sunil is here to set the story straight. I know he's in the process just now of setting up the PowerPoint, and please give us about another 10-15 minutes of your time for Sunil Aggarwal.
Thank you very much. Be asked to be on this panel. Paul, thank you very much. We've talked about cannabis in the heart, cannabis in the brain, cannabis in the body. Now this is cannabis in the mind. So mental health and cannabis, loose ends. That's what Paul asked me to talk about. And what came to mind for me was this recent debate about schizophreniform, schizophrenic psychosis symptoms, which of course was originally part of the Reefer Madness campaign in the 1930s, but with some extra fixins on it, a little more modern spin on it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of what I understand. I've been following the debate just a little bit. I'm not an expert on all the studies. So I'll just tell you some of the conclusions that what I believe to be reputable studies or reviews of these studies have showed. And then the other thing I want to talk about is cannabis abuse disorder. When you see the word disorder, don't forget there's a word in between abuse and disorder, and that's the word mental. And I don't know if it sounds any worse to you, but there is something called a mental disorder called cannabis abuse mental disorder. It has a diagnostic code in the DSM, and I'm going to talk to you about that and kind of how there is a bit of moralism embedded in our modern day advanced 21st century psychiatry, which is supposed to be all about a brain science now, but you'll be surprised to learn that it still hasn't changed. And is it really more of a governmental disorder than a mental disorder? And that's what I'm going to talk about. So please bear in mind that mental illness has always been a source of misunderstanding, fear, and social contestation. To what extent is it socially constructed, biologically grounded, or is it a little bit of both? I mean, difference. As Bob Melamede was telling us, we have a variety of different mental states in the population. What's normal, what's abnormal. Psychiatrists like to talk about functionality and adaptation, and so we're going to see how those terms kind of play out. This is the book I'll be talking about, Diagnostics and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders. It's been around for many years. 94 was the last sort of total revision of it, but yes?
So, I believe actually the Marijuana Policy Project and some other groups are trying to influence DSM-5, because I believe that is in the works since it's so old.
Super. Well, tell them about this. But we'll get to that. Now, here's the facts. Higher rates of cannabis use and other psychoactive substances does occur in schizotypic populations compared to the general population. We know that with population studies. You ask a bunch of people who have been classified as schizophrenic or schizophreniform as a whole range. I'll use the word schizotypic, okay? And they use more psychoactive substances compared to the general population. Cause, effect, association, helping, hurting, what? I don't know. But that association exists. And in predisposed individuals, cannabis use can exacerbate psychotic symptoms that were once in remission. So you can talk to people who said, yeah, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia in my 20s, and it was bad for a while, and then I used cannabis, and it got worse. It went away, and then I used cannabis, and it got worse. These kinds of things have been, there's been cases of this occurring.